The Ace Attorney Trilogy is a riveting piece of drama, encompassing 14 cases over 3 games. This then asks the question, where does each case rank against each other? Having just completed a first blind playthrough of all 3 games, it's time we look back and do just that. Remember, this is based off first impressions only, so your list may differ greatly from mine. The bottom half of the list all have some potential flaws, keeping them from being higher, although that does not mean I didn't enjoy them. All of these cases were fun and definitely rewarded the time invested into them. This series is a masterpiece. Please let me know in the comment section below what your list looks like as we celebrate this incredible series. Before we begin, a quick note that there will be spoilers in this video, so if you have not played through this series, or if you would like to go watch the series, go ahead and hit the top right eye in the corner of the video, or check the description below, and there will be a quick link to the playlist of this series on our channel. Hello everyone, my name is FlightlessBird. This is your story-based gaming channel. Let us begin. Number 14, 2-1, The Lost Turnabout. Being an unprepared defense attorney spells doom for your client. But what if you have amnesia and don't remember anything that you did prepare? The second tutorial case in the series, and it uses amnesia to reteach you how to play, and well, it's my least favorite of the tutorials. While better written than the first case in the series, that one was quick, and we didn't even know how to play yet. My personal highlight is the nightmare sequence, but the frustration of being just thrown into things was more annoying than helpful. I'm glad to see Maggie Bird comes back later, because here, she seems like an afterthought, with no real development or character. Add to the confusion that this case is actually chronologically out of order from the next case in the game. I mean, this whole case is just confusing. None of these are bad cases, and this is no exception. It was just the least memorable, no pun intended, or maybe it was, out of all of them. Looking back in this game and trying to figure out what happened in this case, I didn't remember the villain. That's how forgettable I thought this case was. Number 13, 3-3, Recipe for Turnabout. I really enjoyed the third cases quite a lot, especially Maya here being the star of the show. Yet this trial has too many all the question mark moments. How is it no one notices that Furio the Tiger Tigre wasn't us? I mean, this case begins so bizarrely, and you just kind of go with it, because this is the game, or series I should say, where court evidence has a precedent of questioning a parrot and a man who could fly. Still though, it's never properly answered, except for him being super intimidating to everyone around him, that he bullied them into just accepting it. Then again though, how did Bird fall for such a paper badge? Why does this game paint her as being a foolishly dumb character in this regard? She deserves better than that. And then we got the cliched old guy who likes young girls, or costumes, and Victor Kudo with his crazy testimony and Bird C throwing antics. Not to mention what seemed like testimony that appeared to be a complete waste of time. Lisa Basil didn't seem to really have a point to her either, and she's a missed opportunity as their palindrome naming convention company was a really cool idea. In addition to Maya, Armstrong is definitely a memorable character with a story behind him that shows clear motivations, but still, this trial is bonkers. But unlike other cases, this is only due to the ridiculousness of the premise. Number 12, 1-1, The First Turnabout. First case in this series, which is more of a tutorial on how the game functions. The murderer is known early on, and it leaves little suspense. The defendant is our childhood friend Larry Butts. Not my favorite character overall here, but he is fairly tolerable. The key piece of evidence does not seem to work very well, as it is expected, time zone differentials. Thing is though, I never noticed the location of where this game takes place, so this was more of a guess for me than deductive reasoning. Maybe I missed it. But remember, this is going off a single playthrough. It's a forgettable case that just sets up more exciting things to come. But it is short and to the point, which doesn't overstay its welcome. This case is probably most notable since this is the only case where Mia mentors Phoenix from a non-otherworldly appearance. Number 11. 3-2. The Stolen Turnabout. I'm Master to Mask! Convict me for being a thief and not a murderer. Our first case to not be based on a murder, until it was. And Godot, the new attorney, he knew about it. He knew Ron couldn't have stolen that urn, and he laid a vicious trap for us to begin the second part of the case, which was awesome. But the first half, not so much. I mean, Ron, he isn't the best character, but Luke is. I love Luke. He is over the top with an excellent mind, mimicking a character out of Sherlock Holmes. Zavari! Too bad this is also the case where we see Larry make uncomfortable remarks. Ugh. I wish the rest of this case was as good as Luke. Further, the fact that Ron DeLite gets away with his crimes because of Godot's vengeance seeking isn't really justice, and that left a bitter taste in my mouth. So as much of a good guy Ron could be, him getting away with being Master to Mask has this case way further down than what it should be. Number 10. 3-4. Turnabout Beginnings. Leading off the top 10, which is already starting to get difficult ranking these cases, is one of the most curious of cases, as it seems like an introductory case, but it's not. We are once again Mia squaring off against Dahlia Hawthorne's schemes, and, well, it features probably the most punch in the gut ending out of all the cases. The true culprit, despite being cornered, gets off as the accused kills himself with poison. The case is set up for an even bigger case, yet still standing on its own, it does a really good job as first-time attorney Mia goes up against first-time attorney Edgeworth. We get to understand the reasoning for Armando being killed by Dahlia, and it really fleshes her out as a long-term villainess. I don't like the idea of Terry Falls falling in love with a young teenager, so sadly it's hard to have too much sympathy for him. Additionally, knowing that Dahlia can't be found guilty here due to it coming before in episode 1, Turnabout Memories, it diminishes a little bit of the drama. Still, wow, what an ending. Number 9. 1-2. Turnabout Sisters. The introduction of Edgeworth, Maya, and the DL6 incident? What a shock early on to see Mia get murdered as she does. The game immediately grabs your attention and makes things personal. The nefarious Mr. White makes up weird words and tries to frame Phoenix thinking he is invincible as he works with April May to frame Maya. Blackmail list is his undoing, and our wonderful assistant becomes an integral point of Phoenix's story moving forward. However, the fact it's our mentor and not us who basically seals the case, while it seems like proper justice, it can be a bit deflating, especially since it's only our second case in this series. Still, there's a lot of good storytelling to be had here, and it was a pretty good case overall. Number 8. 1-3. Turnabout Samurai. Will Powers, the Silver Samurai, is accused of killing Jack Hammer, his arch nemesis in the TV show. Mia is awesome here, as we get to know her better, and this case plays a trick on you, in thinking you've met everyone involved, only to introduce us to more characters after the initial trial commences. It makes you cast doubt on people who had nothing to do with the incident, as I suspected Penny early on. This case is fun, although feels almost like the end to a Lord of the Rings movie, where you think you have the full story, only for it to keep going and going and going. And that feels like an evil trick, as not having all the knowledge in front of you with all the people involved cheapens any theories you try to make, since it would be impossible to know beforehand. But as a fan of the Power Rangers, I also dug the idea of Maya switching Phoenix's ringtone to the Silver Samurai. Ah, it's such a cool character, and I love that theme. Number 7. 2-3 Turnabout Big Top. The one case in the series that is fully dependent on luck or unluck, or just dumb coincidences. I mean, you take your pick. With that said, I laughed constantly throughout this case, and while it looked like Aqua was the obvious killer, I constantly was tricked into thinking Regina was somehow involved. Max Galactica does not have the charisma that Luke Atme has. That's true, as he's a tad annoying at times, but Mo was such a great character here. The clown who lost his touch, only to become the future leader of the circus troupe, really saw his character develop in such positive ways. This case also has probably the most colorful array of characters, and I thought it was just a fun time at the circus. I have a feeling I enjoyed this case a lot more than most others did, but that's partly due to how humorous I found it to be, and how different and unique this case was overall. Number 6. 3-1 Turnabout Memories. The third tutorial case and the best one of the three. We are Mia Fey defending none other than Phoenix Wright himself before he became a lawyer. The way Dahlia uses and manipulates Phoenix shows her to be a devilish seductress. So don't let those butterflies and sweet smile fool you. And unlike with Falls, the smitten young college students make much more sense. This isn't just a great tutorial case, but a great case, period. Trials and Tribulations seems to have the most consistent story arc out of all three games. So little did we know then, but this is just the beginning of us hearing Dahlia's name, who would show up in 2 more cases for this game. An exhilarating start that develops multiple characters while also, at the same time, setting up future conflicts. Number 5. 1-5 Rise from the Ashes. A case that asks if the same person can be killed twice in 2 different places at the same time. Possibly the longest case in the trilogy. This was added onto the base game and features new innovations with fingerprints along with a new one-time companion and Ima Sky working with you to defend her sister, Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky. At first, we're told she's guilty by none other than the accused herself, as she didn't want the truth about what happened 2 years ago, fearing her sister would be strung up for murder. The truth had us descending down one rabbit hole after another, featuring cover-ups exposed by the Texas cowboy Jake Marshall as he worked to discover who really murdered his brother. The calculating mastermind of Damon Gaunt made this case memorable, as the writing was superb and his composure made dueling with him a sensation that could only be outdone by the case prior with Von Karma. 2 magnificent back-to-back cases with 2 memorable and genius villains. It begins the top 5, but the length of this case holds it back just slightly, as the entire case seemed to take as long as the whole first game, and you could argue that at times the investigation elements of it seemed to drag a bit longer than it should have. Number 4. 2-2 Reunion and Turnabout. Family. We get to meet Maya's little cousin Pearl, or Pearls, or Pearly, whichever version you use. I love this child. She's got such a good and sweet heart and looks up to her big cousin like a big sister, who is now once again in danger of being the murderer in a case that takes place at a home village. With our newfound power to read people's secret using the Magatama, this is a case that sets up the conflict over family branches and the crying master, as Pearl's mother Morgan Fay works together with Mimi Meanie, who took on the face of her sister Eni following a car accident that paved the way for Pearls to be the master by having Meanie dress up as Maya pretending to be her during a spirit medium exchange with the deceased sister to kill Dr. Turner. Grace is so mind-boggling! Whew. Even saying that sentence out loud makes my head spin. Oh, and let's also not forget the introduction of the younger Von Karma, Franziska, and her way of intimidating the court with her whip that I still don't know how it was allowed in a courtroom. I also loved how this case played with your expectations, thinking that the spirit medium idea had something to do with the case, only to find out that it didn't. This series would come back to this idea later, calling back to this really wonderful case. Number 3. 2-4. Farewell, my turnabout. At this point, any of these 3 cases could easily be number 1. Here, how do we defend a murderer knowing they are one and still sleep at night? How do we defend a murderer knowing they are one, and if we don't, Maya dies and still sleep at night? This is the ultimate dilemma in this case, as the expert actor Matt Engard attempts to blackmail his way to freedom. The twist in his persona is just jarring and visually looks to be the evilest out of all the villains. This case is just an adrenaline and emotional ride, as time is ticking against us to get a verdict before Maya is killed. Franziska Von Karma is shot, which brings Edgeworth back into the picture, and we somehow have to team up and work together to find the truth. The mysterious Shelley Day Killer is ultimately accused of doing the deed, but fear of Day Killer coming after Engard makes him confess to the crime, and Maya is saved! This case had me on the edge of my seat all throughout, although I wish the series would stop using Maya to do that. I mean, this would not be the last time this happened, but still, if we ignore all the other instances of it and just judge this case on its own in a bubble, whoa, this case is absolutely fantastic. Number 2. 1-4. Turnabout goodbyes. Suspense, drama, comedy. The mysterious DL6 at front and center, the culmination of the first game, and possibly the best villain in this series. That all alone is intriguing enough, but add Edgeworth being the one who was on trial? Wow, this case had everything. A Loch Ness monster sighting that wasn't, and it also included putting a parrot on the stand as a witness. I mean, come on! It's not a flightless bird, but still, a feathered friend helped us to find out the truth about Yanni Yogi's role in all this, who seemed at first a harmless old man with memory issues longing for his family. This would not be the end of the DL6 incident in the series, but from start to finish, this case was amazing, with a surprising conclusion. It further started to turn Edgeworth into becoming a better man, breaking free of this winning at all costs mantra instilled upon him by his mentor, while unknowingly setting up a future antagonist for us in Franziska Von Karma. This, due to the shock, humor, surprises, and a mastermind that rivals the best in the series, was my favorite case. I say was my favorite case because that's because of number 1. 3-5 Bridge to the Turnabout. We investigate what happened as both Edgeworth and Phoenix, in a twist that right from the get-go made this case unique. The past comes to present when Maya's mother is found murdered, although we did not know that right away. Nor did we know that Dahlia is once again back. This time inhabiting a spirit medium and a plot orchestrated by their mother. All in a plot to overtake the Korean mastership? Though Dahlia just wanted revenge, so she had her own motives as well? Oh, and do we forget to mention that Pearl has 2 sisters, as Dahlia has a twin in Iris? What? Shock revelations are abound in this, as we finally get a conclusion to Godot's hatred for us and end the Hawthorne saga once and for all. Well, maybe. I've not yet played the other games yet. I started on this list about 2/3 through this case, and it was number 3. At about 80%, it moved to 2. And after finishing it, here we are. And I don't know if words can properly describe how fulfilling this case is. From wrapping up an arc that reached back to the first game, to having so many surprises and reveals, this case is brilliant. I was worried there that Godot might be the villain, like Turnabout Goodbyes with Von Karma, and I saw this case plummeting down to number 5 on the list. But it didn't end that way. Expectations were subverted, and I don't know what to say here. All the dots? I guess? How awesome Dahlia Hawthorne is. As even in death, her spirit comes back to haunt us from the depths of hell. And what a feeling it was to finally exorcise that witch. Whew. A masterpiece of storytelling that really picked up towards the end, propelling Bridge to the Turnabout into the number 1 spot. And that's all the cases in the Ace Attorney Trilogy. Tell me where I went right, and tell me where I went wrong. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, ChinniQT and Techno Trouble, for their continued support of the channel. If you'd like to help support this place, link is in the description below. If you're not a subscriber and you would like to join your story-based gaming channel, consider hitting that subscribe button, liking the video, and following along with us as we play more amazing games and amazing visual novels. We will be seeing more Ace Attorney in the future because I fell in love with this series, so stay tuned. And until next time, so long and take care. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to comment on what you saw and what you would like to see next. I always love to hear your thoughts. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more. Also, please do not forget, you matter, you are brilliant, and you are loved. And you should always remember to be true to yourself. Don't let the world tell you any different. Much love to you from your friendly feathered flightless bird. Till next time.